Tesla does not advertise their cars, and those manufacturers that are trying to advertise their electric cars are, I'm not really sure if they're doing the right thing here, because the global electric car sales are still under 2%. So let's talk about why Tesla doesn't advertise. Could advertising help them? And what's going on with other electric cars like Nissan Leaf, Audi e-tron, that they have tried advertising, but I don't think it's hitting the right spot. Tom Moloughney of InsideEVs is going to be here and going to give us his take on it, because he remembers quite a few ads from all the way back in the day. We're going to look at a couple of them. I don't want this to be a best of electric car commercials, but we're going to look at a few of them and discuss what they are doing wrong. Should they be going Tesla's route, and what should they do to go Tesla's route? All of this is coming up next. Welcome to E4Electric, your number one source of unbiased electric car news. If this is your first time here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button down there so that we don't miss anything, so you don't miss anything moving forward. Well, I've been saying this every day, and yet I can't get it out today. So we know how this video is going to go. All right, so but I don't have to talk much today because Tom Moloughney is going to be here in just a few minutes. You probably, I don't know if do you remember this ad? I will play it for you just a little bit. This is my most favorite ads as far as just the presentation and creativity is concerned, and this is where the poor solar bella, all the ice is melting, and it decides to swim and walk all the way to one of the neighborhoods where somebody bought the very first Nissan Leaf, the all electric car. That was back in the day. I like this commercial, so we'll talk about that. But is this commercial for general public? Are other commercials and some of the ads that we'll show you, are they really for the general public, or this is all just kind of nonsense and only people like me might be touched by this? So we're gonna bring Tom to talk about it. Before that, a quick reminder that this show and this video is sponsored by Byton. Check out their all-electric M-Byte coming to the US, and you're scheduled to be here in another half a year or so, well, in China. And then here by the end of the next year. Check out all the amazing tech. Takes about 60 seconds to reserve yours, mainly because there is no payment section there. That's right, it's the only company that doesn't require a deposit to reserve a car. So go to the description of this video to reserve your Byton today. All right, without further ado, let me bring in Tom and see what he thinks about it. Tom, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Alex. Good to see you again.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the topic that I've kind of wanted to talk to you in a while. Let's start with the ad that we just saw. You told me before we started doing this that you don't really like this ad with the polar bear, and this is one of, I think, the first electric car ads. Tell me what the problem here is.
Oh God, I hated that ad. I remember writing an article back in 2012 or 13 for, I think it was Green Car Reports, basically talking about how bad EV marketing and advertising was, and citing this as a great example. I think that it's a cute ad. It's creative. It gets the point across, but I don't think it does anything to move the needle to sell electric cars. It's kind of like preaching to the choir. The people that might have been interested in electric cars already knew that one of the reasons they were interested in an electric car was perhaps for environmental reasons. So, it wasn't bringing any new people into the fold. What I prefer is when manufacturers focus on some of the myths and misconceptions. A good example of that would be the new Audi ad, where they're kind of saying, electric cars aren't for you because they can't go far, they're not good in the winter, all the reasons why people think electric cars don't work well, and then kind of, quickly but disproving them. So I think Nissan took a wrong approach to this, and while the ad looked cute, it didn't do anything to help sell Nissan Leafs, and that's the ultimate goal of advertising, right? To sell cars.
I do have to agree. Now, there's two kinds of advertisement, I think. One is to sell the cars, and another one to make the people who already bought them feel great about it. You're absolutely right. This only makes people who bought this car feel great about them because it's obviously helping the environment, and the ad is creative, and I think that's why I like it. But I 100% agree with you, and I don't think we've made that much of a progress. It is preaching to a choir. These ads are only for people who already decided or will buy the electric car. But what surprises me, you just mentioned that you do like this ad, which is called "Not for You," and this one is from Audi that they've recently put out there, where essentially, there's this guy who basically says, oh, he goes over all of the myths that, the cars don't go very far, or you don't have anywhere to charge, or you can't, well, now it's froze, you can't take it off-road, that there's all of this, or it's, doesn't work in the cold weather and stuff like that. And then he kind of realizes that it kind of does work all the way like that. But to me, well, tell me why you like this ad, and I'll tell you why I didn't really like that ad, because I also think it was preaching to the choir.
Sure. Well, what's holding back electric car sales? One of the reasons are the myths that the general public is concerned about. And they look at electric cars and say, oh, they don't go far. I'll be stranded in the winter. I can't take them off road. They don't have the utility that I need. So, I'm not even going to think about an electric car. So this ad really comes right in their face and says, oh, so you don't think they go far? Look, it goes far. You don't think that they do well in the winter? Look at this car, driving over a snow-covered mountain or whatever. So that's the direction, personally, I think these electric car ads should move into, to try to bring in people that weren't necessarily in the electric vehicle corner already. You seem to favor the ads the other way, that are already captured the people that want electric cars. I don't think we need to preach to those people. You and I don't need to see commercials anymore. A lot of your followers here don't really need to see commercials about electric cars, because many of them have electric cars. What we need to do now is to start getting the general population to consider an electric car, and advertising can help if it's done correctly.
Yeah, I know. Well, so I just want to correct myself. I didn't want to give you an impression that I like those ads. Meaning, I like those ads, but I don't think they're moving us forward as a community and appealing to the people who are still either don't know much about the cars and so forth. So I think we're there on the same page. I like the polar bear ad from the completely just creative point of view. But it's funny that I don't like this Audi ad for the same reasons. I feel like people who don't know enough about electric cars, we don't need I don't think we need to repeat all those myths that might be in their heads. And this commercial doesn't really, I feel like, do a very good job crushing them, right? You kind of have to be very, very in tune on what's happening. I think those disproval of the myths part of that ad is only me and you and electric car owners can really catch. I think it's someone who doesn't really understand, or maybe even know what a charging station looks like. I don't think they're gonna catch those nuances and end up saying, well, this is just the ad that confirms everything I thought about electric cars, so I'm gonna pass. That's what my fear is when people are watching this ad,
I hear what you're saying, but I'd like to hope that people are a little bit smarter than that and are thinking, well, if Audi is saying they don't go far and they're not good in the winter, and that you can't off-road. If they're saying this in their commercial, then that must not be correct. And then hopefully do their own homework on it, because obviously in a 30-second spot, they can't explain how the cars can do all these things. They just have to do a quick screenshot of the car doing it, and then leave it up to the people to think, oh, wow, I guess it can climb a mountain and it can go off-road and it does go far. So, whether it's a success or not, we'll see. But I like the direction they're going in more than you do, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're giving people too much credit, but hopefully I'm wrong. Listen, I hope I'm wrong. But, and here's another reason why I wasn't really digging that ad, is because this was not the first ad from Audi. Their first ad that they released was airing during the Super Bowl, and we all kind of, I think we've seen him. It's about the I think it was called the cashew ad, right? I'm trying to find it here to show it to you guys. You know, there are a couple of issues here for me, and I'll get your take on it in a second. First of all, except for maybe half a second when they take that plug out of the car, people don't really even realize this is an electric car. And secondly, and I think this is my even bigger problem with Audi, they're trying to advertise the car, the e-tron GT, that they're not even taking reservations for. The actual car that's on the market, which is the e-tron, the SUV, is actually not nowhere. They are not featuring that at all in their commercials. So what are people going to do? What did you think of this commercial?
Well, I didn't like it either. Well, you kind of liked it, but then you said you didn't like it because it didn't show the e-tron. I agree with you in that I'm not really a fan of advertising something that, you know, isn't available, won't be available for a while. We really don't have clarity on exactly when it'll be available. They're not even taking deposits. I'd much rather them focus on the plug-in cars that they have available that people can go into a dealership and get right now. So I understand that they also want to advertise future models, which is great, and you know, have at it if that's what you want to do, but not at the expense. They have such a small budget for their electric car marketing. I hope this came out of like the general marketing budget, not what they have reserved for electric car marketing, because it really isn't going to move the needle at all. It's just, you know, kind of a fun, you know, idea of looking into the future while you're choking on a cashew nut. Yeah. But it really doesn't do anything to talk about electric cars like the other Audi commercial that we just talked about does, how it kind of talks about range and the utility and being able to go off-road and whatnot. I'd much rather have that message in people's heads rather than, you know, if you choke on a nut, you might be able to, you know, visit your, you know, father who may have passed away at some point in the past. So
now you did mention fun commercials, and there's one that I wasn't really even aware of that you brought to my attention. Let me show this one with sound for people. It's pretty quick one, but I wanted to ask you, why do you like this one so much in contrast with others? So let's watch that.
Hey, Dad. I didn't hear you pull up.
Electric car. Sneaky.
Introducing the first ever all-electric BMW i3.
It's a nice car.
BMW, the ultimate.
All right, so let me know why do you think this one should appeal to people? And this one is so old that I wasn't able to find the HD version of it actually. But go ahead.
Yeah, so BMW put that out. They actually made 2 or 3 very similar commercials to this.
Hey, Dad.
Back when they first launched the i3. I thought they were great. What I loved about it, if you look at the video again, you'll see that number one, it talks about how silent the cars are, which is, you know, an interesting aspect. Then how it shows a teenager sneaking out of the house and taking his dad's car. Who didn't do that? I know I did on more than one occasion. I wasn't lucky enough to sneak out to pick up some really cute girl in my grade. It was more hanging out with my friends. I wish I was as lucky as this kid was.
Same here, man. I feel your pain.
And then you see him like accelerating and stepping on it, and you see the instant torque of an electric car, which is fun. And then you see him back in the house, and when he plugs in, his dad gets a notification. It kind of explained a little bit about the electric life. And in the middle of having fun, you know, sneaking out of the house, going on a date, you know, it showed somebody living with an electric car, what real life would be like. And I like that. I like that it shows, okay, look, this is an electric car, but you can live the same life you lived before and actually can improve because this car is quiet and it's fun. So I really like that spot that BMW did.
Yeah, I mean, I like the set as well. I just not really sure if the best, like, because I feel like the electric car ad should feature the best right? Whenever you're trying to convince somebody, you got to bring your best arguments to the table. And, you know, silence is great, but I don't think anyone's buying electric cars because they're silent. I think a better argument is that you never have to pay for gas. You know, electricity is cheaper. Then you never have to do oil changes or transmission fluids. The maintenance is less. A lot of times they're safer because there is no engine to kill you in a front-end collision. So, but granted, now, before we talk about Tesla and why they don't advertise, literally a couple of days ago, Electrify America, right? This is the subsidiary of a Volkswagen Group. They got a huge, $2 billion budget as a result of the Dieselgate punishment fund. And they've just literally a couple of days launched this, and I'm going to show you a couple of pictures in the video. This Normal Now, and there's a website, normalnow.com, that they're essentially saying how electric cars are normal. So here's one of the ads. As you can see, they're just kind of comparing it how computers were weird, or now they're not. Now their website is even done in the if those of us who are old enough remember, this is what the websites look like back in the early 90s. And you can go to normalnow.com and see this for yourself. But they've also produced a couple of, and they'll produce more, a couple of, I think, 15-second commercials. So let me show that to you and get your take on this whole Normal Now campaign. So here's the first one.
You fill out a questionnaire, you give your age, your sex.
So who are you? Who are you looking for?
Your
what do you
sexual
want?
preference, and if you're lucky, you meet your dream person.
Electric cars. Yeah, they're totally normal now too.
All right, and let me show you the second one. Here we go.
Now, email has several advantages over regular mail, or snail mail as the internauts like to call it.
Electric.
All right, so I think that one stopped playing in the middle of it. But I think the point here is that they're trying to make is that, hey, there's a lot of cool stuff that you used to use that was weird at first, like online dating, though I have a feeling that still people are kind of trying to stay away from that. Though I love online dating, don't get me wrong. But and then of course email, that I think everybody would agree on, that used to be weird. What do you think about this Normal Now campaign, now that you see everything that they put out so far?
So as you mentioned earlier, there was a $2 billion settlement that Electrify America had to, or Volkswagen had to spend on electric vehicle infrastructure, also education. So this is part of the education budget, where they have to, they have a certain amount of money set aside to educate the public on electric vehicles. So I like what I see so far. The first commercial that they put out a few months back was called the Jetstones. And I thought that commercial was really a lot of fun, where they kind of had one car that was a gas car, and it was like Fred Flintstone kind of, and then this electric car pulls up next to it, and he's supposed to be the Jetsons, and how it just takes off and zooms away from the Flintstone car. I thought that was a pretty cool, fun spot. So I like what Electrify America is doing here. And I like the retro idea, because when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And a lot of people look at electric cars today as kind of, they're not sure, are these going to take off? Why would I want an electric car? Why do I have to plug it in? Well, those are all the same arguments that people are saying about cell phones. Why do I want to carry this thing around with me? There's a payphone on every corner. Whenever, if I need a phone, I could just go to the payphone, drop a quarter in it. So, it kind of reminds us that, what's normal yesterday isn't normal now and isn't normal tomorrow. So have an open mind to some of the new technologies, because that's going to be normal, really soon. And even though Electrify America is billing it as normal now, we know that for many people, electric cars are normal, but that's still a small percentage of the population. You mentioned earlier, we're at less than 2% of all light vehicle sales. So, we still have a long way to go for electric cars to really be normal for everybody. But we're getting there. And next couple of years, I think we're going to make tremendous progress with that.
Yeah. And I think I have a very similar feeling with it. I like the fact that they're saying, hey, stuff that used to be weird is really cool now. It's something that you use, and that's how you should look at electric cars. But I also agree with you that I disagree that they're normal now. I think we're in transition, and maybe they should position this as kind of a normal soon, and that you should step into the future kind of a thing. So I like the premise. Not really sure if I like the general statement though. I think I'm kind of okay with it. This is not going into some really weird sort of tangent. So we'll see what they produce from now on. Maybe they'll run some on my channel as well. Who knows? But now I want to talk about the company that has been the most successful selling the electric car, which is Tesla, and they don't advertise at all. Now, why do you think?
Hold on a minute.
Yes.
I'm going to cut you off there.
Sure.
What do you call shooting a car into outer space?
Well, right.
What do you mean, well?
No, right
well,
now, and
that was advertising.
yeah, and you know what? I was going to bring up, the only image I was going to bring up to sort of as we talk about it is this image. And here's another way to advertise. But obviously, I'm talking about the common radio, television, internet, YouTube pre-roll ads, right? Tesla doesn't do that. They do publicity stunts, right? Which,
Sure.
by the way, and this is where I guess I'm going.
But
So
that's advertising.
it's advertising, but I mean like traditional advertising, right?
Well,
Because
they don't build traditional cars. Why should they do traditional advertising?
Tom, don't get mad at me here. I'm trying to lead you to the point here, because I think we're in agreement.
Out.
Here's where I'm going with this, and you tell me if you agree or not. So when you have to advertise a product, that means you may not have the best product on the market. When you have the best product on the market, there are a few ways to advertise, like PR stunts, obviously. But I think, and honestly, I know you mentioned the Roadster in space and Elon Musk as a showman. I think the best way Tesla advertises is by selling these cars to people like you and me, and then we go to our friends and talk to people in parking lots that approach us and so forth and say, look, I love it. You should love it too. So beyond all those PR stunts and Elon Musk as a celebrity and stuff like that, I think the way they advertise is through us, the people who absolutely love the brand. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I agree, but Tesla doesn't corner the market on that. They just have the most customers. For instance, as you know, I was big in the BMW i3 community for years. When I got my i3, I can't tell you, Alex, how many i3s I sold for BMW. I wish I got a commission on them, because I used to run a blog. I used to get 20, 30, 40,000 views a month, comments. People used to write me emails every day asking about the car, and I would explain it to them because the dealers couldn't, or the dealers just didn't understand. I sold dozens and dozens of i3s. So it's not unique to Tesla that their community is out there advocating for their product. I think Tesla and the other manufacturers are very lucky that the owners of these cars, I mean, there's rabid Leaf owners too that go out and tell everybody about how great their Nissan Leaf is, and all the electric cars. So I think that that's kind of normal for this electric car movement, that there's communities that promote them. Tesla happens to have the biggest community, most active community, which really helps Tesla. But going back to the advertising, the whole thing with the Roadster getting shot out to outer space, that is pure advertising for Tesla. So you can't say they don't advertise. They don't conventionally advertise.
Right.
There's really no other reason for Elon to have spent that much money to put that thing on the rocket and shoot it into outer space. It was brilliant. It was cool. I loved it too. But that is advertising through and through. And maybe that's 21st century advertising, and maybe all the automakers need to move away from just making regular commercials and putting them on TV. Maybe they should move to doing lower budget videos, putting them on YouTube, putting them on your channel, Facebook ads that are these short commercials that don't cost a lot of money. The regular TV commercials cost a tremendous amount of money. And to be honest with you, Alex, people aren't making money on electric cars yet. As much as we wish they were, they're not profitable for the automakers. So you can't expect them to carve out tens of millions of dollars to produce commercials and then pay to add them for part of their product line that doesn't make money. Now, electric cars are going to be very profitable. It's going to be the whole product line at some point in the near future. But for today, they sell in low volumes. They don't make money on them. So it's hard for me to go out and tell Nissan or BMW or Chevy or Audi, oh yeah, go drop $50 million on an ad budget for a car that you're going to lose money on for the next year or two.
Well, to be fair though, like for example, as we know that Fiat Chrysler, I believe they committed to almost $2 billion to buy green credits from Tesla in Europe because they don't have electric cars. So essentially, those companies that do sell electric cars, even maybe at loss or no profit whatsoever, they are making money by avoiding pretty hefty penalties now that they have to pay, especially in Europe and China and so forth. So I think that's that line starting to blur. But let me steer this back to you again and say, okay, two questions really. One, should Tesla advertise? And by advertise, I mean conventional advertising. And should the other companies, and I think you partially answered that already, get as creative as Tesla, but mainly can they? Because when Tesla shoots out, a roadster in space, it's a pretty amazing car. Would you really shoot out Kia Niro EV as good of a car, of an electric car it is? Will this really turn heads? So what say you?
So yeah, I think Tesla is at some point is going to have to start doing a little more advertising. Putting out some type of videos, even if they don't go mainstream like on television and radio. I'd love to see them put together some content and have it online, have it on YouTube. The videos would go viral. People would be sharing them. Social media spots. Maybe they're at the point where they still demand outstrips their supply that they could make the cars. So maybe they don't have to do that yet. I know Model X and Model S sales have really, really come down now. We're at less than 50% of where we were at this point last year. So Model S and X has dropped 50% sales in the US year over year for this 2018 versus 2019. So maybe they want to start doing something for that, for those vehicles. I know that they don't need to do anything for the Model 3 yet, but I'd like to see some content about Model S and Model X and maybe some comparisons to the cars that they go up against, the gas cars, and how that they're so much superior. I think that might be useful, and it might open up some people's eyes and consider buying them. Somebody that might be going out there to get a 5 Series or 7 Series BMW or an S-Class Mercedes, maybe some of the content that they could put together might sway them.
Yeah, I mean, so I do have to say that I'm hoping something's going to change because I am quite frustrated that the sales are so overall this low, and there's so many different reasons, and we can talk about it at some other time. So I do hope that those people those companies that do throw money at advertisement, well, first of all, I hope more of them do it, but I think they need to kind of get in touch with the community, understand what it is that made us buy electric cars, and most importantly, what made people who decided against it do so as well, and see where that barrier is and target that directly. So that would be my wish. But hey, thank you for the conversation. I'm actually, as people probably do, I don't know if people know, we don't really rehearse this. As a matter of fact, when we talk about what we're going to talk about, we're like, no, let's just do it live, because I was quite surprised by a couple of replies that you had to some of these ads. So another great conversation, and I'm not going to see you next week or the week after, but we might make a couple of videos together, because we might end up in the same place together. I don't want to tell people what it is just yet, but before we go, of course, let people know where they can get in contact with you, or follow your articles, and follow your all kinds of fights with manufacturers like Toyota. Tell us where we can see that. So
follow me on Twitter at Tom Molough, TOMMOLOG, and I'm a regular staff writer on InsideEVs. You could check out InsideEVs and see what I'm up to over there.
And of course, the links are all in the description of this video, and Tom's handle is like literally over there. over there on the bottom of it. All right, well, Tom, thanks so much again, and I can't wait to see you next week and see what other topic we can digest here live on our segment. So I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Alex. See you then.
All right, guys. So I feel like this video could have been twice as long. I have to say, I'm almost trying to not talk as much, which is kind of hard for me. I don't know if you know, but interesting conversation. Of course, Tom's opinion is, he goes all the way back. Like, he pointed me to a few commercials that I didn't really know were happening, and some of the backgrounds and stuff like that. We didn't want to be kind of sitting here and watching commercials with you. We just kind of wanted to give you a few examples and stuff like that. And of course, looking forward to knowing what you think of these. Don't forget to subscribe to our VIP list. It's free. You can get the link in the description of this video. Just go to e4electric.com/VIP. We send bonus stories every Saturday. Those are the stories we just can't fit into this channel, or we couldn't fit in on e4electric.com website. So don't forget to subscribe to that one. All right, looking forward to your comments. Other than that, see you next time, and remember to stay charged.